Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The DeShaun Foster Era getting kicked off for this UCLA program, heading on the road week one to play a Hawaii team that, generated a lot of offseason buzz in that Mountain West Conference. And we were able to see Hawaii during week zero playing Delaware State. Want to get into a few different storylines. I think most importantly, try to figure out and talk about what this UCLA team is going to look like in the 2024 season. We're going to get our first taste of this UCLA team that not only is DeShaun Foster taking over this program, but there are a lot of new faces coming into this UCLA program. And I think a lot of the national media analysts look at UCLA and, kind of count them out going into the Big Ten. I think this team can be a lot more dangerous than a lot of the national media analysts think. We'll get an opportunity to see this kind of UCLA team in a couple of days. Really excited to get into it. Now, before we do, and as always, number one, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. The best part about doing these game predictions is really just talking ball with you guys in the comment section, specifically for the UCLA fans. Would love to see your biggest storylines or what you are really looking for under this DeShaun Foster UCLA team. And if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. The UCLA fans who've been rocking with the boys really for the last year, as we talked a lot about UCLA kind of making that transition to DeShaun Foster. We can't thank you guys enough. Appreciate y'all. And without further ado, let's get into this one. I want to start with this UCLA offense going up against the Hawaii defense that struggled in a lot of departments last year. Delaware State didn't give us a great deal of info on this Hawaii defense, but going back to last year, this was a defense that gave up 33.3 points per game. That was 113th in the country. They struggled to stop the run, giving up 4.8 yards per carry. But I think most importantly, Hawaii gave up a lot of explosive plays in the passing attack. 8.9 yards per pass. That was almost dead last in the FBS. And so my question for UCLA is, how do you want this football game to look? And what's your identity going to be on the offensive side of the football? Now, if I were to project and kind of predict what this UCLA offense is going to be from an identity standpoint with Eric Bieniemy coming in, DeShaun Foster as your head coach, I think they're still going to want to run the football, because you look at this offensive line and say you got, 4 redshirt seniors and another redshirt junior projected to start on this offensive line. This is a big offensive line. It's an experienced offensive line. It's an old offensive line. I mean, there's a lot of grown men on this offensive line. You have a guy like TJ Harden in the backfield. With DeShaun Foster as the head coach, I would be not very surprised if we saw this UCLA team really take the identity of, hey, we want to control the line of scrimmage and we want to run the football. Now, I think the big question mark in this football game is, UCLA is going to have success running the football. Hawaii is probably going to have to walk some safeties into the box to try to stop the run. My biggest question mark is, can UCLA marry that run game with that explosive downfield passing attack? I don't know if many of you guys watched the Florida State-Georgia Tech game, but you just saw Florida State really fail to do that, right? Florida State got off to running the football. Georgia Tech answered with, hey, we're going to put some safeties in the box, give you that 7-8-man box look, and we're going to beg you to throw the football down the field. Florida State just didn't really do that. What I'm looking for here with Coach Bieniemy and DeShaun Foster is we want to run the football. We're probably going to force Hawaii to, put some extra bodies in the tackle box. Can we ask Ethan Garbers to push the ball down the field effectively? He has the wide receivers to do it. I think most notably a guy like J. Michael Sturdivant, who is one of the more dynamic and explosive vertical wide receivers that we'll see in the Big Ten. And I think a guy like Ethan Garbers, he just flies under the radar, where everybody wanted to talk about, quarterback Dante Moore last year, which I certainly don't blame the national media analysts and the UCLA fans for wanting to talk about Dante Moore, one of the most impressive high school prospects I've seen in quite a long time. But you look at Ethan Garbers and say, this kid was extremely talented coming out of high school as well. He has some juice. He has the ability to make all those throws that DeShaun Foster and Eric Bieniemy are going to ask him to make. And so when you start running the football and you start having those opportunities to go play action and push the ball down the field, can Ethan Garbers be that quarterback to make those kind of throws? I think he has the weapons on the outside to do so. That's probably what I'm going to be looking for the most in this matchup against Hawaii. Now, flipping over to the defensive side of the football, it is absolutely no secret what Hawaii wants to do on offense, right? Timmy Chang as the head coach. You have a quarterback in Braden Shager who he's got an arm. I think this was a quarterback that I thought would be on the move to a Power 5 program or Power 4 program. in the offseason. He stays at Hawaii. This is a Hawaii offense that last year threw the football 64% of the time. That was number one in the country, and it wasn't particularly close. This is a pretty one-dimensional offense in terms of throwing the football. My biggest question mark is, what does this UCLA pass rush look? Where you go back to 2023, what made that UCLA defense one of the better units we saw, not only in the conference, but in the country? It was that pass rush. And I don't think a lot of UCLA fans are expecting the pass rush to be as good. It's really hard to replace a guy like the Murphy brothers or a guy like Latu, but how good can it be? I mean, DeShaun Foster, this UCLA program, got aggressive in the transfer portal, adding some guys in that edge rusher room. How do those transfers look? Are we still able to impact the quarterback heading into the Big Ten in 2024? That's probably the biggest question mark I have, because I look at the linebackers and say, I'm really high on that unit. I think the secondary is going to be good. I think Hawaii is probably going to struggle to consistently create separation against this UCLA secondary. My eyeballs are going to be on the pass rush. Now, you look on the inside and say, we feel pretty good about Jay and Gary Smith, but on the outside, what do the edge rushers look like? Can they kind of provide that juice in the pass rush that UCLA had in abundance last year? Probably the biggest question mark and storyline that I'll be following in this football game. Now, getting into the pick here, this line's moved around, right? A couple days ago, before the Delaware State game, it was at 13.5 inside of 2 touchdowns. It's up to 14.5 now. I still like UCLA here, and I like UCLA because I think they'll be able to play the football game on their terms. You look at UCLA controlling the time possession, running the football. Those are probably the two numbers that you are looking for and say, hey, I don't need to see the scoreboard. Show me how UCLA ran the football and what the time possession looks like, and I'll probably get a pretty good feel about how this football game went and if UCLA can hit some of those explosive plays in the passing attack that Hawaii struggled to stop so much in 2023. I think UCLA is probably going to open up this football game. I'm really excited about this game. The DeShaun Foster era kicking off at UCLA. We said this kind of throughout the offseason. This is a program that it has a lot of potential. And DeShaun Foster is injecting the kind of juice that a lot of UCLA fans were looking for around this program. Now you got to go put it on the field. Really excited about it. We'll probably break this one down Monday morning, maybe Tuesday morning. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.